Alright, Sally Hirsch, Elizabeth Hirsch, Val, Lauren, Hodge, Tom, Arena here, Dylan, Rosa here, Schnell, Blaine, Josh, Django, and Ryan. Alright, let me see. Yeah, we talked about IO versus PO last time. I think we promised to talk about, unless you guys want to talk about something different, credit default swaps. Short for CDS. Anybody has heard of these before? Credit default swaps? All right. What they basically are, they are financial contracts that act like insurance for default. For bonds or other debt obligations of a firm. Typically, they are for 5 years. I mean, you can have a CDS for 1 year, for 10 years, but more often than not in the market, you see the 5-year CDSs being traded. And the way it works, is simple. Suppose you want to buy a 5-year CDS on dollar-denominated debt of Republic of Turkey. Doesn't make too much sense to buy default protection for debt of a government that is denominated in its own currency, because one way or the other, they have the authority to print money, so they'll always pay those. But there are dollar-denominated debt of a lot of governments. These are called sovereign debt, or CDS on sovereign debt. The difference between the debt of an American company versus debt of a sovereign government are very different. If Apple defaults on its bonds, you can go to U.S. Bankruptcy court and ask to be compensated. They'll sell Apple's assets, and they say, okay, here's how much we got, here's how much debt there is. You're gonna get 60 cents on the dollar or something like that. But if Republic of Turkey defaults, what are you gonna do? I mean, it's not like they have, you can go and seize the assets and sell them. You can seize the assets, but typically that involves some sort of war, okay? You have to take over the country. That's the only way you can do it. That's why sovereign debt is different from debt of uh, corporate debt. Buyer of the CDS pays an annual premium based on the market rate. For example, current 5-year CDS rate on sovereign Turkish debt. They're also known as the Euro bonds. Let me see. Actually, I actually had a list here, but now let's find out in different ways. The current number is 523.24. This means for each $10,000 worth of uh, face value, worth of Turkish debt, CDS buyer promises to pay an annual insurance premium of $523 for the next 5 years. In case of an official default, CDS seller promises to pay $10,000 to the CDS buyer in exchange for $10,000 face value bonds of Republic of Turkey. Okay, it's not Republic. I mean, if you're speaking Arabic, it could be Republic because Arabic doesn't have the P sound. So it's that simple. I bought some Turkish Euro bonds, and for one reason or another, I am now concerned that they could default. There's an election middle of May, and depending upon the result of that election, there's some chance that there's going to be serious financial trouble in Turkey. If that happens and they can't find funding, there is a strong possibility for default. So I'm concerned. So one of my options is to sell those bonds right now, or I can go ahead and buy protection against default. So over the next 5 years, if Turkish government defaults, I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, here's your bonds, basically make me whole. This is not any different from car insurance. You have a car, you insure it over the next 6 months. If there is an accident, and let's assume that it's totaled, you're gonna tell the insurance company, take the car as it is and give me the value of the car. That's it, done. That's the same idea. The only difference is in terms of pricing, you price insurance contracts based on kind of law of large numbers idea. There are a very large number of clients where the accident risks are not correlated. But in this case, there is just a single probability that these guys could actually default. And, it's a pretty high number. You can think of the 5-year CDS rates as an indication of how much spread these bonds would have relative to the treasury bonds. Or we can kind of figure out the implied probability of default. Let's look at yield on 5-year Turkish Euro bonds.